Hello, story lovers. Tonight, we're diving into a tale of passion, secrets, and choices that could change everything. Hearts will be broken, love will be tested, and every twist will leave you on the edge of your seat. Comment below where you're watching from, and if this story moves you, hit like, subscribe, share it with someone who loves a powerful love story, and tap the bell so you never miss the next thrilling chapter. Ready? Let's begin. The California sun burned through the windshield of Jordan Thompson's black Tesla as he pulled into the Ocean View Resort. 36 hours without sleep had carved shadows beneath his eyes, but his reflection in the rearview mirror still showed the polished exterior of a man worth billions. Dark hair perfectly styled, suit unwrinkled despite the flight from Tokyo. The mask he wore so well it had become his face. At 32, Jordan had built Nexatech Industries into an artificial intelligence empire that shaped how the world processed information. The deal he'd just closed would make him even richer. It would also destroy coastal ecosystems across the Pacific, but that information was buried in reports his investors would never read. He stepped out into air thick with salt and secrets. The resort stretched before him like a monument to excess. Glass walls, palm trees, the endless ocean beyond, indifferent to human ambition. Jordan felt the familiar weight pressing down, the sensation of standing at the center of something he could no longer control, but couldn't abandon. This weekend was supposed to be an escape. 3 days of silence in a penthouse suite booked months ago. No decisions, no consequences, just the illusion of peace. He had no idea how wrong he was. 3 floors above, Natalie Brooks stood on a balcony watching dolphins cut through water the color of lapis lazuli. Her auburn hair moved in the breeze like a banner, and her simple sundress marked her as an outsider in this temple of wealth. At 28, she'd spent her life fighting battles most people ignored, championing causes that paid nothing but mattered everything. She worked for Ocean Guardians, barely scraping by on a nonprofit salary that wouldn't cover a single night at this resort. The only reason she was here was the International Climate Summit, where she'd present research that could change policy, could save lives, could matter, if anyone listened. The penthouse suite had been a computer error, she assumed. Some glitch that gave her luxury she couldn't afford. She'd taken it as a sign. The universe throwing her a bone after years of sleeping on couches and eating ramen to fund her research. She had no idea the universe had other plans. Jordan inserted his key card. The lock clicked green. He pushed the door open, pulling expensive luggage behind him, already imagining the silence. Instead, he found chaos. Female clothes scattered across white leather. A laptop displaying charts of dying coral reefs, the scent of jasmine perfume cutting through the sterile hotel air, and then a voice, sharp with confusion and defiance. "Excuse me, but I think you're in the wrong room." Jordan turned. The woman stepping in from the balcony was beautiful in a way that made his carefully constructed walls crack. No makeup, no designer accessories, just green eyes that looked at him like he was an obstacle to overcome, not a billionaire to impress. "I'm sorry," Jordan said, his voice colder than he intended, "but I reserved this suite. My assistant confirmed it yesterday." Natalie crossed her arms. "Well, I have a confirmation too. Room 2554, Ocean View Penthouse Suite, booked 3 months ago." They stood there, phones raised like weapons, both refusing to back down. Jordan found himself studying her. The scar above her left eyebrow, the way she radiated purpose. Everything about her the opposite of the carefully curated people in his world. "This is obviously a mistake," he said. "I'll call the front desk. They can move you to another room." Her eyes flashed. "Move me? I was here first. Maybe you should be the one looking for alternative accommodations." 20 minutes later, they sat in the hotel manager's office, while a middle-aged man named Robert explained the impossible. "Computer glitch. Double booking. Every room in the city taken because of the summit. No solutions. No alternatives. Just apologies that meant nothing." Jordan's mind worked through scenarios, calculations, business logic applied to personal disaster. Natalie kept her expression neutral, but he saw the panic flickering behind her eyes. She had nowhere to go. Neither did he. "Wait," Jordan heard himself say. "The suite has 2 bedrooms, right?" Robert nodded desperately. "Yes, sir. Master bedrooms, each with private bathrooms, separated by the living area. Jordan turned to Natalie. We're both adults. We both need this space. The suite is big enough that we'd barely see each other. She stared at him. You're suggesting we share? I'm suggesting we both get what we came for. You keep your booking, I keep mine. East bedroom and west bedroom. Ground rules, boundaries. 3 days, then we never see each other again. The silence stretched like wire pulled tight. Natalie's jaw worked as she considered her options. Airport floors, cheap motels hours away. Or this, sharing space with a stranger who wore his wealth like armor. Fine, she said finally. But we establish rules, real ones. An hour later, they stood in the penthouse that would be their shared prison. Jordan had changed into jeans and a white shirt, looking more human, less corporate machine. Natalie sat cross-legged on the sofa, laptop open, pretending this was normal. Ground rules, Jordan announced, pulling out a notepad. First, we respect each other's space and privacy. Second, we split shared expenses. Third, we maintain appropriate boundaries. Fourth, Natalie added, not looking up. No business calls during meals. Fifth, whoever uses the kitchen cleans up. Sixth, we pretend this never happened once we leave Sunday. Jordan wrote it down, surprised by her practicality. Most people either feared his wealth or wanted something from it. She seemed determined to treat him like anyone else. As sunset painted the sky orange and purple, they settled into an uneasy truce. Jordan claimed the dining table, surrounding himself with financial documents he was trying to ignore. Natalie spread research across the coffee table. Photographs of dying reefs, data about ocean acidification, evidence of destruction. Jordan glanced at her work and felt something twist in his chest. Recognition. Guilt. The deal he'd signed in Tokyo, the one that would make him richer, would accelerate everything her research documented. She didn't know. She couldn't know, and he couldn't tell her. What are you working on? She asked suddenly, breaking the silence. Jordan's hand stilled over his keyboard. Quarterly projections. Nothing interesting. You flew from Tokyo for quarterly projections. Her eyes were sharp, searching. Jordan felt exposed in a way boardrooms never made him feel. It was a big deal, he said carefully. Game-changing for my company. Nexitech Industries, Natalie said, and his blood went cold. I saw your name on the booking. You're that Jordan Thompson. She stood, crossing to where he sat, looking at his screen before he could close it. Her expression shifted from curiosity to horror as she read the document header. Pacific Infrastructure Expansion Project. Environmental Impact Assessment. Oh my God, she whispered. You're the one destroying the coral reefs in the Mariana Trench. The deep-sea mining operation. That's your deal? Jordan stood, his chair scraping back. It's more complicated than that. How is destroying an ecosystem complicated? Her voice rose, sharp with betrayal. Do you have any idea what you're doing? Those reefs are nurseries for species we haven't even discovered yet. The carbon sequestration alone. I know what I'm doing. Jordan cut her off. And I know the cost. But it's not my decision alone. I have a board, investors, employees depending on this expansion. So profit matters more than the planet? Natalie stepped closer, eyes blazing. People like you are why I do what I do. Why I spend every day fighting to save what people like you destroy. People like me? Jordan's own anger rose now. You don't know anything about me. I know enough. Billionaire tech bro who thinks money solves everything. Who makes decisions in boardrooms that kill things in oceans you'll never see. And you, Jordan said, his voice dropping to something dangerous. Idealistic activist who thinks passion is enough, who judges without understanding the complexity of running an actual business. You want to save the world? Try doing it with shareholders breathing down your neck and thousands of jobs on the line. They stood inches apart, the air between them electric with anger and something else, something neither wanted to name. I can't believe this, Natalie said quietly. Of all the people to be stuck with, it had to be someone actively destroying what I'm trying to save. If you want to leave, there's the door, Jordan said coldly. Airport's 20 minutes away. Her hands clenched into fists. I'm not leaving. I was here first. Then I guess we're both stuck. Natalie turned away, gathering her research with shaking hands. Stay on your side of the suite. Don't talk to me. And once this weekend is over, stay the hell out of my way. She disappeared into the west bedroom, daughter slamming hard enough to rattle the walls. Jordan stood alone in the living room, surrounded by luxury and silence and the ruins of his attempted escape. He looked at the financial projections on his screen, then at the photographs of coral reefs Natalie had left behind. The ocean in the pictures was the same blue as her eyes when she'd looked at him with contempt. His phone buzzed. A message from his CFO. Tokyo deal is gold. Stock up 12%. Board is thrilled. You're a genius. Jordan deleted it without responding. Outside, the sun finished setting, and darkness swallowed the ocean whole. Morning came too bright, too early. Jordan woke to sunlight stabbing through curtains he'd forgotten to close, his body still running on Tokyo time. The suite was silent except for the distant crash of waves. For a moment he forgot where he was. Forgot about the woman on the other side of the wall who looked at him like he was everything wrong with the world. Then he remembered, and the weight settled back onto his chest. He found Natalie in the kitchen, already dressed in professional attire, her hair pulled back tight. She was making coffee with the mechanical efficiency of someone who wanted to be anywhere else. When she saw him, her expression shuddered. "I made enough for one," she said flatly. "You're on your own." Jordan nodded, moving to the expensive espresso machine in silence. They existed in the same space like ghosts, carefully not touching, not speaking, the air between them thick with yesterday's accusations. Natalie grabbed her laptop bag. "I have my presentation at 9. I'll be gone until at least 3. Try not to destroy any more ecosystems while I'm out." The door clicked shut behind her. Jordan stood alone with his coffee, staring at nothing. He should work, make calls, follow up on the Tokyo deal. Instead, he pulled up Natalie's research from the files still scattered on the coffee table. What he found made his hands shake. The Mariana Trench operation. His operation would devastate an area 10 times larger than the environmental impact report claimed. The data was there, buried in footnotes his lawyers had assured him no one would read. Species extinction, ecosystem collapse, carbon release that would accelerate climate change. He'd known it was bad. He hadn't known it was apocalyptic. His phone rang. The board chairman. Jordan let it go to voicemail. 3 hours later, Natalie returned to find Jordan still sitting among her research, his face pale, a half-dozen scientific journals open on his laptop. "What are you doing?" Her voice was sharp, defensive. "Reading," Jordan said quietly. "Your work, the real impact assessments, not the sanitized versions my lawyers showed me." Natalie dropped her bag. "So you're admitting you knew it was bad?" "I knew it was bad. I didn't know it was this bad." He looked up at her, something broken in his expression. The methane release alone could trigger a cascade effect. Ocean acidification accelerated by decades. You know this. You've documented it. "Of course I know this," Natalie said, anger and confusion warring in her voice. "That's why I'm trying to stop it. Why are you reading it now? Guilt? Conscience finally catching up? Maybe both." Jordan stood, running his hands through his hair. "My father built Nexitech from nothing. Immigrant story, American dream, all of it. He died 3 years ago and left me everything. The company, the responsibility, the board members who see quarterly profits as the only metric that matters. That's not an excuse." "I know." His voice cracked. "I know it's not. But it's the truth. Every decision I make affects 30,000 employees, families, kids going to college on salaries my company pays. How do I choose between them and the ocean?" Natalie felt her anger waver. She'd spent years painting people like Jordan as monsters, simple villains in a simple story. But the man standing before her looked haunted, trapped in a system he couldn't escape. "You think I don't understand hard choices?" she said quietly. "I gave up a medical career for this work. My parents won't speak to me because I chose ocean conservation over becoming a doctor. I live in a studio apartment with 3 roommates and eat instant noodles so I can afford research equipment. Every day I choose the ocean over comfort, over security, over the life I was supposed to want." Jordan looked at her, really looked, seeing past the activist to the person beneath. "Why? Because someone has to. Because if people like me don't fight, people like you win by default." She paused. "Or people like I thought you were. What's the difference?" "I don't know yet." They stood in silence, the distance between them smaller than yesterday but still vast. Your presentation, Jordan said. How did it go? Natalie laughed bitterly. About as well as expected. Half the room walked out when I started talking about corporate accountability. The other half took notes they'll never look at again. Politicians nod and smile and do nothing. It's the same every time. Show me. What? Your presentation. Show me what they saw. Natalie hesitated, then pulled out her laptop. For the next hour, she walked Jordan through her research. Satellite images of ocean dead zones. Time-lapse footage of coral bleaching. Data models showing ecosystem collapse. Her voice grew passionate, animated, the anger replaced by something pure and fierce. Jordan listened without interrupting, watching her face as she explained the intricate web of marine life, the delicate balance his industry threatened. He'd seen presentations before, countless experts explaining why his decisions were justified, why the economic benefits outweighed environmental costs. No one had ever made him feel like he was destroying something sacred. The worst part, Natalie said, her voice dropping, is that it's not inevitable. We have the technology to do this differently. Renewable energy sources, alternative materials, sustainable practices. But it's more expensive, slower returns, so companies choose destruction because it's profitable. Not all companies, Jordan said quietly. No. She turned to him, challenging. Name one major corporation that chose sustainability over profit. He couldn't. They both knew he couldn't. The afternoon dissolved into evening. Neither noticed they'd started sharing the space naturally, moving around each other with less hostility, more curiosity. When Jordan ordered dinner from room service, he ordered for two without asking. When Natalie poured wine, she poured 2 glasses. They ate on the balcony, watching the sun sink into the Pacific. Tell me about your father, Natalie said suddenly. Jordan's jaw tightened. Why? Because you mentioned him earlier. Because I want to understand. He was quiet for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, voice low, he spoke. He was brilliant. Came to America with nothing. Worked 3 jobs. Built Nexitech in our garage. He used to say technology was the future, the thing that would save humanity from itself. Jordan stared at the ocean. He believed that. Right up until the cancer killed him. The same cancer that comes from industrial pollution, from companies prioritizing profit over safety. I'm sorry. The irony isn't lost on me. I became exactly what killed him. Jordan's hands clenched around his wine glass. After he died, the board pushed for aggressive expansion. Mining operations, manufacturing overseas, cutting environmental corners to maximize returns. I told myself it's what he would have wanted, that his legacy mattered more than anything else. But you don't believe that anymore, Natalie said softly. I don't know what I believe. He turned to her, something raw in his eyes. I used to think the world was simple. Business was business. Profit was the goal. Then I started seeing the reports, the real ones, the data my PR team buries. Started understanding what we're actually doing. So why not stop? Walk away? Jordan laughed, the sound empty. Walk away from 30,000 jobs? From my father's legacy? From the only thing I know how to do? He shook his head. It's not that simple. It never is. Natalie set down her glass. But complexity isn't the same as impossibility. Their eyes met, held. The air between them shifted, charged with something neither wanted to acknowledge. Natalie felt her breath catch, felt the pull of attraction she'd been denying since the moment she saw him. This was dangerous. He was dangerous. Everything she fought against. Everything she stood against. But the man looking at her now wasn't a billionaire or a CEO. He was someone lost. Someone questioning. Someone who might actually listen. I should go to bed, Natalie said, standing quickly. Early meeting tomorrow? Wait. Jordan stood too. I want to help. With your work, your research. Let me fund Ocean Guardians. Real money, not token donations. Enough to make a difference. Natalie froze. Why would you do that? Because maybe you're right. Maybe it's not too late to choose differently. Or maybe you're trying to assuage guilt with money. Maybe you want to feel better about the destruction you're causing while changing nothing that matters. Maybe, Jordan admitted. Or maybe I'm trying to be better than I am. Natalie searched his face, looking for lies, for manipulation, for the ulterior motive she'd been trained to expect. She found only exhaustion and something that looked like hope. I'll think about it, she said finally. She turned to leave, but Jordan caught her wrist. Not hard, not demanding, just enough to stop her. The touch sent electricity through both of them. I meant what I said, he told her, about wanting to help. I know. Natalie pulled her hand back gently. But wanting and doing are different things. Talk is easy. Change is hard. She disappeared into her bedroom, leaving Jordan alone on the balcony with the wine and the ocean and the realization that somewhere in the past 24 hours, everything had shifted. He pulled out his phone, stared at the messages from his board, the congratulations on the Tokyo deal, the expectations for next quarter's growth. Then he opened his email and started writing. To the Board of Directors, regarding the Pacific Infrastructure Expansion Project, I'm calling for an immediate environmental impact review by independent consultants. His finger hovered over send, through the wall. He heard Natalie moving around her room, heard the shower turn on, heard the sounds of someone who still believed change was possible. Jordan hit send. His phone exploded with calls immediately. He turned it off, poured another glass of wine, and waited for his world to burn. Jordan woke to pounding on his door and sunlight that felt like judgment. His head throbbed from too much wine and too little sleep. The pounding continued, insistent, angry. Mr. Thompson, we need to talk. Now. He recognized the voice. Martin Chen, his CFO, who should have been in San Francisco, not standing outside his bedroom at 7 a.m. Jordan pulled on jeans and opened the door. Martin pushed past him into the living room, tablet in hand, his usually calm face twisted with fury. What the hell were you thinking? Martin thrust the tablet at him. The board is losing their minds. Stock is down 8%. Our investors are threatening to pull out. All because you decided to question the Tokyo deal in the middle of the night. I asked for an environmental review, Jordan said, his voice steady despite the chaos erupting around him. That's reasonable. Reasonable? Martin's laugh was sharp. We've spent 18 months securing this deal. $3 billion in projected revenue. And you want to risk it all because of what? Coral reefs? Because of the real environmental impact. The data we buried, we didn't bury anything. We followed every legal requirement. Martin's eyes were cold now. You're having a breakdown. That's what I'm telling the board. Stress, exhaustion. You'll release a statement this morning clarifying that you support the project fully. No. Jordan, listen to yourself. You're going to destroy your father's legacy over this? The bedroom door opened. Natalie stood there in pajamas, hair messy from sleep, eyes sharp. She'd heard everything. Get out, Jordan told Martin quietly. Excuse me? You heard me, get out. This conversation is over. Martin looked between them, understanding dawning. This is about her, isn't she? Some environmental activist got in your head, made you feel guilty. He turned to Natalie. I don't know who you are, lady, but you just cost this company billions. I'm the person who showed him the truth you've been hiding, Natalie said, her voice cutting. The real impact of your project. The lies you told regulators. Martin's expression hardened. Careful. Those are serious allegations. Are they allegations if they're true? Martin, Jordan stepped between them. Leave, now, before I call security. The CFO stared at him for a long moment. You're making a mistake, one you can't take back. The board is meeting this afternoon. They're going to vote you out. Then let them vote. Martin left, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the walls. Silence rushed in like a wave. Jordan stood frozen, the reality of what he'd done settling over him like concrete. Jordan, Natalie said softly, I'm fine. You're not fine. You just torpedoed your company for what's right, he interrupted. Isn't that what you wanted? For me to choose the ocean over profit? Not like this. Not without thinking it through. She crossed to him, studied his face. What did you do? Jordan pulled up the email he'd sent, handed her his phone. Natalie read it, her expression shifting from confusion to horror. You called for an independent environmental review. You suggested halting the project pending results. You copied every board member and investor. She looked up at him. Jordan, this is corporate suicide. I know. Then why? Because you were right. Because I've spent 3 years lying to myself about what I'm doing, about who I am. Because my father didn't build this company so I could destroy the planet in his name. Natalie set down the phone. And if they vote you out? If you lose everything? Then I lose everything. Jordan's voice was quiet but certain. At least I'll be able to live with myself. They stood close enough that Natalie could see the exhaustion in his eyes, the fear he was trying to hide, close enough that she could feel the warmth radiating from him, smell coffee and expensive cologne, close enough to kiss. She stepped back. I need to tell you something. What? The reason I'm here? The climate summit. Natalie's hands trembled. I was invited to present research, yes, but I was also asked to gather evidence, against Nexitech Industries specifically. Jordan went still. What kind of evidence? Internal documents. Whistleblower testimony. Proof that your company knew about the environmental damage and hid it deliberately. She met his eyes. I was supposed to get close to you. Use the booking error as an opportunity. That's why I didn't fight harder to leave when we first met. The betrayal hit him like a physical blow. You've been using me. At first, yes. Natalie's voice broke. But then I got to know you, saw that you weren't the monster I expected, started to believe you might actually care. Started to believe? Jordan's laugh was bitter. You still don't know if I'm genuine or just good at manipulation. That's not fair. Fair? He turned away, stared out at the ocean. You came here to destroy me. You made me trust you, made me question everything, got me to expose myself to my own board, and you don't even believe I meant it. Jordan, please. Natalie reached for him, but he pulled away. I'm trying to be honest with you. I could have kept lying, but I didn't. I chose to tell you the truth. After you already got what you needed. I don't have anything. I haven't taken any documents. Haven't recorded any conversations. Because somewhere along the way, this stopped being about the mission and started being about you. Stop. Jordan's voice was hard. Just stop. I don't know what's real anymore. I don't know if last night meant anything or if you're just that good at your job. Last night meant everything, Natalie said desperately. That's the problem. I'm not supposed to care about you. You're supposed to be the enemy. But you're not, and I don't know how to handle that. Jordan's phone buzzed. A message from his lawyer. Board meeting moved up to noon. They're going to ask for your resignation. They have the votes. He showed it to Natalie. She read it, her face going pale. I'm sorry, she whispered. Are you? Jordan looked at her, really looked, trying to see past the surface to whatever truth might be underneath. Or are you relieved that the billionaire is finally getting what he deserves? Both, Natalie admitted. I'm both, and I hate myself for it. The honesty in her voice cracked something in Jordan's armor. He sank onto the couch, head in his hands. They're going to take everything. My father's company, my life's work, everything I am. Natalie sat beside him, not touching but close. Then you build something new, something better. With what? I'll be a pariah in the tech industry. No one will touch me after this. You'll have the truth. You'll have a clear conscience. She paused. And you'll have me, if you want. Jordan looked at her. Why would you offer that? After everything? Because I see who you're trying to be. Because I believe people can change. Because last night when you sent that email, you became someone worth believing in. Even if it destroys me? Especially then. Natalie took his hand. True character isn't shown when doing the right thing is easy. It's shown when it costs you everything. Jordan squeezed her hand, feeling the warmth, the connection, the possibility of something he couldn't name. Then his phone rang again. The board chairman. I have to take this, he said. I know. Jordan stood, walked to the balcony, answered the call. Natalie watched through the glass as his expression shifted from resignation to shock, to something that looked like rage. He came back inside, his face drained of color. What happened? Natalie asked. They're not voting me out, Jordan said, his voice hollow. They're calling the environmental review a publicity stunt. A brilliant PR move to show Nexitech cares about sustainability. They're spinning it as proof of our corporate responsibility. What? They've already released statements to the press. CEO Jordan Thompson demonstrates environmental leadership. Nexitech commits to transparency and accountability. It's all a lie. They're using my attempt to stop them as marketing material. Natalie felt sick. The review. Will it actually happen? They hired a consulting firm we've used before. One that's dependent on our business. The review will find exactly what the board wants it to find. Minor concerns. Acceptable risk. Full speed ahead. No. Natalie stood. We can expose them. Show the media what they're really doing. With what evidence? Everything I have is protected by attorney-client privilege. And you said yourself you didn't take any documents. Jordan's eyes met hers. We have nothing. We have your testimony. You're the CEO. Your word means something. My word means nothing without proof. And if I go public without it, they'll destroy me. Legal action. Character assassination. They'll paint me as unstable, unreliable, bitter. He laughed bitterly. They've probably already started building that narrative just in case. Natalie's mind raced. There has to be something we can do. There isn't. Jordan sank back onto the couch. I tried to do the right thing and they turned it into a lie. I tried to sacrifice everything and it meant nothing. This is what power looks like, Natalie. This is why people like me win. You're not like them, aren't I? I've been part of this system for a decade. I built this company into what it is. Every decision they're making now, I would have made 3 days ago. But you've changed. Have I? Jordan looked at her with empty eyes. Or did I just have a moment of weakness that accomplished nothing except making me feel better about myself? Natalie knelt in front of him, forced him to look at her. Listen to me. You tried. You put everything on the line because it was right. That matters. Even if the system is broken, even if they twisted it into something else, you made a choice. You chose truth over comfort. And it changed nothing. It changed you. That's something. Jordan cupped her face, thumb brushing her cheekbone. Is it enough? Before Natalie could answer, his phone rang again. Unknown number. Jordan answered on speaker. Mr. Thompson? This is Rebecca Martinez from the Environmental Protection Agency. I received a copy of your email to the board. I'm calling to inform you that we're opening a formal investigation into Nexitech's Pacific operations. Jordan's eyes widened. How did you get the email? Someone forwarded it to our office anonymously this morning, along with several internal documents showing discrepancies between your environmental impact reports and actual projected damage. A pause. We take these matters very seriously. Expect federal subpoenas within 48 hours. The line went dead. Jordan stared at Natalie. Did you? No! Her voice was fierce. I swear I didn't send anything. I told you the truth. Then who? The answer came in the form of a text message, also from an unknown number. Your father would be proud. You're not alone in this fight. More evidence coming soon. They can't hide anymore. Someone inside Nexitech was working against the board. Someone who saw what Jordan tried to do and decided to help. Oh my God, Natalie breathed. Jordan, this is it. This is the opening we needed. With a federal investigation, everything falls apart, Jordan finished. The deal collapses. Stock crashes. The board will come after me with everything they have. Criminal charges if they can manufacture them. Civil suits. They'll drag my name through the mud until there's nothing left. But the ocean will be saved. The reefs, the ecosystems. Isn't that worth it? Jordan looked at her. This woman who'd entered his life by accident and changed everything. Who'd lied to him and then told the truth. Who represented everything he'd spent his career opposing and everything he now wanted to become. Yes, he said finally. It's worth it. Natalie kissed him. Not gently, not tentatively, but with all the passion and fear and desperate hope that had been building between them since the moment they met. Jordan responded instantly, pulling her against him, his hands in her hair, tasting wine and salt, and the promise of something he'd never believed he could have. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Natalie pressed her forehead to his. I'm scared, she whispered. Me too. They'll destroy you for this. You know that. I know. And you're still going to do it? Cooperate with the investigation? Tell them everything? Jordan pulled back to look at her. I don't have a choice anymore. Not if I want to be someone worthy of you. You don't have to prove anything to me. Maybe I'm proving it to myself. Another message came through, this time from Martin Chen. You think you've won? You have no idea what's coming. We'll bury you so deep you'll wish you'd stayed in Tokyo. Jordan showed it to Natalie. She read it, her jaw tightening. Let them try, she said. We'll fight them together. Together, Jordan repeated, testing the word. I've been alone for so long I forgot what that means. Then it's time you remembered. They spent the rest of the morning preparing. Jordan called his personal lawyer, started gathering every document he could access. Natalie contacted her organization, alerted them to the EPA investigation, coordinated media strategy. By noon, the news had broken. Federal investigation into Nexitech Industries, stock in freefall, board scrambling for damage control. By 2, Jordan's lawyer called with worse news. The board was filing an emergency injunction, claiming Jordan had violated fiduciary duty, seeking immediate removal and criminal prosecution for corporate sabotage. Can they do that? Natalie asked. They can try, the lawyer said over speaker. It won't hold up, but the process will be expensive and very public. They want to make an example of you, Jordan. Scare any other executives who might grow a conscience. Jordan thanked him and hung up. He stood at the window, watching the ocean, his reflection ghost-like in the glass. I built that company with my father, he said quietly. Every line of code in our early AI systems we wrote together. Every client meeting, every pitch, every late-night debugging. It was ours, and now they're taking it and using it for something he would have hated. Natalie came to stand beside him, then take it back. How? I don't know yet, but there has to be a way. Jordan's phone buzzed. Another anonymous message, this time with an attachment. Video footage. Timestamp from 6 months ago. Board meeting. Audio of members discussing the Pacific Project. The environmental damage is catastrophic, but manageable from a PR perspective. If anyone asks, we followed all regulations. Jordan doesn't need to know the real numbers. Keep him focused on the quarterly targets. The voices were clear, undeniable. Evidence of conspiracy to commit fraud, to deliberately mislead regulators, to hide environmental destruction. They set you up, Natalie breathed. They kept you in the dark so you could take the fall if anything went wrong. Jordan's hand shook as he watched the video. Everything he'd built, everyone he'd trusted, all of it a lie. They'd used his grief over his father, his dedication to the company, his belief in their shared mission. They'd used him the same way Natalie admitted she'd planned to use him. Except she'd stopped. She'd chosen truth over mission. They never would. Send it to the EPA, Jordan said, his voice hard. Send it to every media outlet. Send it everywhere. Jordan, if you do this, there's no going back. They'll know it came from you. The legal battle will destroy you financially. Let it. He turned to her. I'm done protecting people who deserve to burn. Natalie nodded, already typing on her laptop. Then let's burn it all down. Within an hour, the video was everywhere. News networks, social media, federal investigators. The board's carefully constructed narrative imploded in real time. Emergency trading halt on Nexitech stock. Multiple board members lawyering up. Class action lawsuits filed by investors. Congressional calls for hearings. Jordan's phone exploded with messages, threats, pleas, accusations. He turned it off, sat beside Natalie on the couch, and watched his empire collapse on the television news. How do you feel? She asked. Free, Jordan said, surprised to find it true. Terrified and free. What happens now? I testify. I tell the truth. I face whatever consequences come. He took her hand. And then I figure out what comes next. We, Natalie corrected. We figure it out. Jordan pulled her close, buried his face in her hair. Outside, the sun was setting again, painting the sky in shades of fire. Appropriate, he thought, for a world burning down. His phone, still off, sat silent on the table. He didn't know it yet, but there was one message he hadn't seen. One final betrayal waiting in his inbox, sent just before he'd powered down. A message that would change everything again. They woke tangled together on the couch, dawn breaking through the windows like an accusation. Jordan's arm was numb beneath Natalie's weight, but he didn't move. Didn't want to break whatever fragile thing they'd built in the wreckage of his former life. His phone buzzed on the table, powered back on automatically. Messages flooded in, hundreds of them, the digital aftermath of yesterday's explosion. Jordan reached for it with his free hand, scrolling through chaos. Then he stopped. The message was from an unknown number, sent at 11:47 p.m. the previous night. A single line of text, and an attachment. Thought you should know who you're sleeping with. Jordan's blood went cold. He opened the attachment. Audio file. Timestamp from 2 days ago. His hand shook as he pressed play, volume low. Natalie's voice, crystal clear, speaking to someone else. I'm in. The booking error worked perfectly. He has no idea I was behind it. Another voice, male, older. And he's cooperating? Better than expected. I've gained his trust. He's already questioning the Tokyo deal. Give me another 48 hours and I'll have everything we need. Good work, Natalie. This takedown is going to be legendary. Nexitech will burn and you'll be the hero who lit the match. That's the plan. The recording ended. Jordan sat frozen, the phone heavy in his hand. The booking error. She'd orchestrated it. Everything from the start. A carefully planned trap. Every moment of connection, every confession, every kiss. All of it a lie wrapped in more lies. He looked down at Natalie, still sleeping against him, her face peaceful in the early light. Beautiful and terrible and false. Slowly, carefully, he extracted himself from beneath her. She stirred but didn't wake. Jordan grabbed his laptop, opened it, started searching. It took less than 10 minutes to find what he needed. Natalie Brooks, not just an employee of Ocean Guardians, but founder and director of a subsidiary organization called Corporate Accountability Project. An organization with a track record of taking down CEOs through infiltration and exposure. An organization funded by a consortium of activist groups with a vendetta against the tech industry. 3 previous targets, all billionaires, all destroyed through personal relationships that exposed corporate malfeasance. All seduced and betrayed by the same woman now sleeping on his couch. Jordan's hands clenched into fists. The rage building in his chest was volcanic, burning away everything else. She'd played him perfectly, used his guilt, his grief, his desperate need to be better than he was. She'd known exactly which buttons to push, which vulnerabilities to exploit, and he'd given her everything. The email to the board, the cooperation with the EPA, the video that destroyed his company. All of it, everything, because he'd believed her when she said she cared. Jordan? He turned. Natalie was awake, sitting up, rubbing her eyes. She smiled at him, warm and genuine, and it took everything he had not to scream. Morning, she said. You're up early. Couldn't sleep. His voice was flat, controlled. Too much on my mind. Natalie stood, crossed to him, tried to put her arms around him. Jordan stepped back. She frowned. What's wrong? Tell me about the Corporate Accountability Project. Her face went carefully blank. What? The organization you founded? The one that specializes in destroying CEOs through infiltration and exposure. Jordan's voice was cold now, sharp as broken glass. Tell me about that. Natalie's eyes widened. Jordan, I can explain the booking error. You arranged it, didn't you? This whole weekend, from the very beginning, was a setup. It's not what you think. Then what is it? Jordan held up his phone, played the recording, watched her face crumble as she heard her own voice, her own words, her own admission of manipulation. When it ended, silence filled the room like poison. Where did you get that? Natalie's voice was barely a whisper. Does it matter? Is it fake? Did you not say those words? I said them. But that was before what? Before you got to know me? Before you decided I was worth saving? Jordan laughed bitterly. Let me guess. You're going to tell me everything changed, that you fell for me despite the mission, that what we have is real even though it started as a lie. Natalie's eyes filled with tears. It is real. Jordan, please. Yes, I orchestrated the booking error. Yes, I came here to take you down. But everything that happened after, everything between us, that was real. How am I supposed to believe that? How am I supposed to trust anything you say? Because I told you the truth yesterday. I didn't have to confess. I could have kept lying, but I chose to be honest with you. You chose to tell me a partial truth to cover your tracks, Jordan corrected. You admitted to being sent to gather evidence. You didn't admit to engineering this entire situation. You didn't admit that your organization makes a business out of destroying people like me. People like you. Natalie's own anger flared now. You mean corrupt billionaires who hide environmental destruction? Who prioritize profit over human life? I was trying to change. I put everything on the line to do the right thing. Because I pushed you there. Because I showed you the truth you were avoiding. Natalie stepped closer. Yes, I lied about how we met. Yes, I had ulterior motives. But I also helped you become someone better, someone willing to sacrifice everything for what's right. You mean someone you could use as a puppet? Jordan said coldly. Someone naive enough to destroy himself while thinking it was his own choice. That's not fair. Fair? Jordan's voice rose. You want to talk about fair? You seduced me, made me care about you, made me believe there was something between us. Also, you could use me as a weapon against my own company. I didn't seduce you. What happened between us was mutual, was it? Or were you just that good at your job? Jordan grabbed his laptop, turned it to show her. 3 previous targets, all successful businessmen, all taken down through personal relationships with you. Tell me, Natalie, what's your success rate? 4 for 4 now? Natalie looked at the screen, her face going pale. Those men were criminals. They were hurting people. And I'm not? You were, but you changed, because you manipulated me into changing. Because every word, every touch, every moment was calculated to make me doubt myself, to make me vulnerable. Jordan's voice cracked. I trusted you. I fell in love with you. And it was all a lie. I love you too, Natalie said desperately. That's not a lie. Jordan, please. I know I hurt you. I know I should have told you everything from the start. But my feelings are real. Your feelings are convenient. They serve your purpose. Jordan turned away. Get out. What? Get out of the suite. Get out of my life. We're done. Jordan, you can't mean that. We don't need to do anything. You got what you wanted. Nexitech is burning. I'm ruined. Congratulations. You can add another notch to your belt of destroyed billionaires. He looked at her, his eyes cold. Now leave before I call security. Natalie stood frozen, tears streaming down her face. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But please don't throw away what we have. We don't have anything. We never did. Jordan walked to the door, opened it. You have 10 minutes to pack your things. Where am I supposed to go? I don't care. Airport, hotel, back to Seattle. Anywhere but here. Natalie wiped her eyes, straightened her shoulders. Fine, if that's what you want. It's what I should have wanted from the beginning. She disappeared into the west bedroom. Jordan heard drawers opening, zippers closing, the sounds of a life being packed away. He stood at the window staring at the ocean, feeling nothing. The rage had burned itself out, leaving only emptiness. Natalie emerged 15 minutes later, bag over her shoulder, laptop in hand. She stopped at the door. For what it's worth, she said quietly. I meant everything I said last night. About believing in you, about wanting to fight together, about loving you. It's worth nothing, Jordan replied without turning around. I understand. Natalie's voice broke. But Jordan, you need to know something. The EPA investigation, the video evidence, all of it. It's going to get worse before it gets better. Your board will turn on you completely. They'll try to make you the scapegoat for everything. Why are you telling me this? Because I still care. Because even if you hate me, I don't want to see you destroyed. Little late for that. Natalie nodded, opened the door. Goodbye, Jordan. I hope someday you can forgive me. She left. The door clicked shut. Jordan was alone. He stood there for a long time, watching the sun climb higher, listening to the waves crash against the shore. His phone buzzed constantly. Messages from lawyers, reporters, board members, employees, people who wanted pieces of him for their own purposes, just like Natalie had wanted pieces of him. He thought about the past 3 days. Every conversation, every moment, examining them for the lies he'd missed. The way she'd pushed him toward questioning the Tokyo deal. The way she'd positioned her research where he couldn't ignore it. The way she'd offered comfort exactly when he needed it most. All of it, every second, calculated and controlled. Except, Jordan pulled up the recording again, listened more carefully this time. The conversation had happened 2 days ago, Natalie's voice saying she had 48 hours to get everything she needed. But yesterday, she'd confessed. Told him about her real purpose before the deadline, chose honesty when she could have kept lying, and last night, when he'd destroyed his company, when he'd sent the video that guaranteed his own ruin, she'd been genuinely shocked. He'd seen it in her eyes, heard it in her voice. She hadn't expected him to go that far, which meant either she was the best actress he'd ever met, or something had changed. Something had shifted the plan. Jordan's phone rang. His lawyer. "Don't answer," came a voice from the hallway. Jordan spun. Natalie stood in the doorway, having used her key card to get back in. Her eyes were red, her face determined. "I said leave." "I lied to you," Natalie said, walking toward him. "I manipulated you. I arranged this entire situation to take you down. All of that is true. Then why are you back? Because there's something you need to hear. Something I should have told you yesterday." She took a breath. "The recording. The one someone sent you. It was leaked by my own organization. They knew I was compromised, knew I'd gotten too close to you, cared too much. So they sent proof of my original plan to destroy whatever we'd built." Jordan stared at her. "Why would they do that?" "Because they want you broken. Completely broken. They need you isolated, vulnerable, easy to control during the investigation." Natalie's hands shook. "The EPA case, Jordan. It's bigger than Nexitech. Your board is connected to a network of corporations all doing the same thing. Hiding environmental destruction, bribing regulators, destroying evidence. The EPA wants to use you as a witness against all of them. So my organization made a deal with federal prosecutors. They get full immunity for anyone who cooperates in taking down the entire network, including me." She met his eyes. "That's why I came here. Not just to destroy you, but to flip you. To make you a cooperating witness in the biggest environmental prosecution in history." Jordan felt the bottom drop out of his world again. Everything, all of it. Every single thing was a lie. "No," Natalie said fiercely. "The mission was real. The manipulation was real. But what I feel for you, what happened between us, that became real too. I wasn't supposed to care about you. I wasn't supposed to fall in love. But I did. And it ruined everything." "Ruined everything for your organization, you mean?" "Ruined everything for me," Natalie corrected. "Because now I have to choose. My life's work, the mission I've dedicated everything to, or you. A man I've known for 3 days who should mean nothing." "What are you saying?" Natalie pulled out her phone, opened her email, showed him the screen. A message to her organization, timestamped 30 minutes ago. "I'm out. Find another witness. Leave Jordan Thompson alone." Jordan read it again, trying to find the angle, the manipulation, the lie. "You're walking away? From immunity? From the biggest case of your career?" "Yes. Why?" "Because you deserve better than to be used. Because what they're asking you to do, testifying against hundreds of executives, facing death threats and legal battles for years, it will destroy you." Natalie's voice broke. "And I can't be the person who does that to someone I love." "You love me," Jordan repeated flatly. "The man you came here to destroy." "I love you," Natalie confirmed. "The man who tried to do the right thing even when it cost him everything. The man who could have stayed comfortable and chose principle instead. The man I wasn't supposed to see but couldn't stop seeing." They stood facing each other. The wreckage of their lies and truths scattered between them like broken glass. "I don't know if I can forgive you," Jordan said finally. "I know. I don't know if I can trust you ever again. I know that too. But I also don't know if I can do this without you." Natalie's breath caught. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that even knowing everything, even knowing you lied and manipulated and used me, I still—" Jordan stopped, the words catching in his throat. "I still want you here, and I hate myself for it." "Jordan," his phone rang again. The lawyer insistent. This time Jordan answered. Put it on speaker. "Mr. Thompson, we have a problem. The federal prosecutors just offered you a deal. Full immunity in exchange for testimony against your entire board and their network of corporate partners. But there's a condition." "What condition?" "They want you to implicate Natalie Brooks and the Corporate Accountability Project in conspiracy to commit corporate espionage. They're offering to drop all charges against you if you testify that she coerced you into destroying your company." Jordan's eyes met Natalie's. She'd gone pale. "They want you to betray me," she whispered. "To save yourself," the lawyer continued. "You have 24 hours to decide. But Jordan, this is your only chance at immunity. Without it, you're facing potential prison time for securities fraud, conspiracy, breach of fiduciary duty. This deal makes all of that disappear. What happens to Natalie if I take it? Federal charges, conspiracy, wire fraud, corporate espionage. She's looking at 10 to 15 years minimum. Silence filled the room. I need time to think, Jordan said. The clock is ticking. Make the right choice. The lawyer hung up. Natalie stood perfectly still, waiting. Jordan looked at her. This woman who'd entered his life as an enemy and become something he couldn't name. This woman who'd lied to him, betrayed him, and then sacrificed her own mission to protect him. Tell me the truth, Jordan said quietly. All of it. No more secrets. No more manipulation. If there's any chance for us, I need to know everything. Natalie nodded. Everything. I promise. They sat down together as the sun reached its peak, and she told him the whole story. The corporate accountability project, the 3 previous targets, the funding sources, the federal connections, the immunity deals, the plan to make him a witness, every ugly truth laid bare between them. When she finished, Jordan sat in silence for a long time. 24 hours, he said finally, to decide whether to save myself and destroy you, or refuse the deal and face prison together. I wouldn't blame you if you took it, Natalie said. You didn't ask for any of this. Neither did you. Not really. Jordan looked at her. You were trying to save the planet. I was trying to save my father's legacy. We both made choices that led us here. So what do we do? I don't know. Jordan took her hand, felt the warmth of her skin, the reality of her presence. But we have 24 hours to figure it out. Outside, storm clouds gathered over the Pacific, dark and heavy with rain. Rain lashed against the windows as midnight approached. Jordan and Natalie sat on opposite ends of the couch, the space between them filled with everything unsaid. 24 hours had become 12, then 6, now 3. The deadline loomed like an executioner's blade. Jordan's laptop displayed 2 documents side by side. On the left, the immunity agreement that would save him and condemn her. On the right, a statement he'd been drafting, refusing the deal, accepting responsibility for his own choices. You should take it, Natalie said for the 100th time. Her voice was hoarse from hours of talking, crying, arguing in circles. Jordan, please. This isn't your fault. You were manipulated. The prosecutors know that. They're offering you a way out. A way out that requires me to lie about you. It's not a lie. I did manipulate you. I did orchestrate everything. She pulled her knees to her chest, looking smaller than he'd ever seen her. I deserve whatever consequences come. Do you? Jordan closed the laptop. You were fighting to save the environment, to hold corrupt corporations accountable. Were your methods questionable? Yes. But your cause was right. The ends don't justify the means, don't they? Jordan stood, paced to the window. Rain obscured the ocean, turning the world gray and formless. I've spent 3 days questioning everything I believed, about business, about success, about what matters. You did that. You made me see the truth I was avoiding. By lying to you. By showing me who I'd become. He turned to face her. If you hadn't come here, if you hadn't pushed me, I'd still be that person. Still signing deals that destroy ecosystems. Still telling myself it was necessary, justified, inevitable. Natalie shook her head. You can't forgive me because I helped you change. That's not how this works. Then how does it work? Tell me, Natalie. Because I've been trying to figure it out for hours and I'm no closer to an answer. You take the deal. You save yourself. You rebuild your life without me in it. Her voice cracked. And you find someone who doesn't come with a history of destroying people. I don't want someone else. Jordan, I don't want someone easy. Someone simple, someone who fits into the life I used to have. He crossed to her, knelt in front of the couch. I want the woman who challenged me, who saw through my excuses, who cared enough about the planet to do whatever it took to protect it. Even if she lied to you. Used you? Even then. Jordan took her hands. Because here's what I've realized. You did lie. You did manipulate. But when it mattered most, when you had to choose between your mission and me, you chose me. You walked away from everything you'd worked for. That doesn't erase what I did. No. But it shows me who you really are. Not the activist who orchestrated this weekend. The person who couldn't go through with destroying someone she cared about. Natalie pulled her hands back. You're romanticizing this, making it into something it's not. I'm not a hero, Jordan. I'm someone who's made a career out of seducing and betraying people. Were the others like me? What? The 3 previous targets? Were they trying to change? Were they questioning their choices? Natalie was quiet for a long moment. No. They were exactly what I expected them to be. Corrupt, unrepentant, deserving of everything that happened to them. But I wasn't. No. Her voice was barely audible. You weren't. And that's why everything fell apart. Jordan's phone buzzed. 2 hours until deadline. His lawyer had sent 17 messages in the past hour, each one more urgent than the last. I need to tell you something, Jordan said. Something I figured out while you were telling me the truth earlier. What? The EPA case, the immunity deal, the testimony they want from me. He pulled up his laptop, showed her a file he'd been compiling. I did some research. The prosecutors pushing this case, they have political ambitions, environmental crusader credentials. Taking down a massive corporate conspiracy would make their careers. So they don't actually care about justice. They care about optics, about headlines. Jordan's jaw tightened. They're using both of us. Me as the repentant CEO turned whistleblower. You as the zealot who went too far. It's a narrative that plays well on cable news. Natalie stared at the screen, reading through Jordan's notes. Congressional testimony schedules, media appearances, book deal negotiations already in progress. The prosecutors had planned everything, turning human lives into career stepping stones. They're no better than the corporations, she whispered. Worse, maybe, because they're doing it in the name of justice. What do we do? Jordan stood, walked to the rain-streaked window. Lightning flashed over the ocean, illuminating whitecaps on black water. He thought about his father, about the company they'd built together, about the legacy that was already destroyed beyond repair. He thought about the 30,000 employees who'd lose their jobs when Nexitech collapsed completely. About the investors who'd already lost billions. About the ripple effects of one man's choice to tell the truth. He thought about Natalie, brilliant and flawed and fighting for something bigger than herself. About the planet she was trying to save. About the systems they were both trapped in, systems that turned good intentions into weapons. We refuse, he said finally. Both of us. Both of us. Jordan turned to face her. We tell the prosecutors no deal. I testify to what I know about Nexitech's crimes. You testify to your organization's methods. We both accept responsibility for our choices and face the consequences together. Jordan, that's insane. They'll crucify us. Prison time. Financial ruin. Our names destroyed. Yes. Probably. He crossed to her, cupped her face in his hands. But we'll do it on our own terms. Not as their puppets. Not playing roles in their political theater. As ourselves. Why would you do that? Throw away the immunity? You don't owe me anything. I owe myself. The person I'm trying to become. Jordan kissed her forehead. And maybe I owe you too, for showing me there are things worth sacrificing everything for. Natalie closed her eyes, tears streaming down her face. This is going to destroy us. I know. We'll lose everything. I know that too. And you're sure? Really sure? Jordan pulled her to her feet, held her close. The only thing I'm sure about is that I'd rather face prison with you than freedom built on more lies. They stood together as lightning illuminated the room. As thunder shook the windows, as the storm reached its peak, Natalie pulled back, looked up at him with red-rimmed eyes. I love you, she said. I need you to know that. Not as part of a mission, not as manipulation, just as truth. I love you, Jordan Thompson, and I'm sorry for everything. I love you too, Jordan replied, and I forgive you, even though I probably shouldn't, even though it's complicated and messy and maybe crazy. I forgive you. They kissed as the world fell apart outside, as their futures collapsed into uncertainty, as everything they'd known dissolved into rain and darkness, and the possibility of something new. At midnight, Jordan sent his response to the prosecutors, declining immunity, requesting separate counsel, prepared to testify honestly about his own actions and accept full legal consequences. At 12:03, Natalie sent hers. Same message, same choice. By morning, the news had broken. Both of them refusing deals. Both accepting responsibility. The media went wild. Some called them heroes. Others called them fools. Most just called them interesting, novel, the kind of story that sold newspapers and drove clicks. The legal battles would take years. The financial devastation was immediate. Nexitec's stock became worthless. Jordan's personal assets were frozen pending investigation. Natalie's organization cut all ties, throwing her under the bus to protect themselves. They lost their suites, their homes, their reputations, everything material, everything they'd built, gone. But they had each other. 6 months later, they shared a tiny apartment in San Francisco. Jordan worked as a consultant for clean energy startups, using his expertise for companies trying to do things right. Natalie freelanced as an environmental researcher, her name too controversial for major organizations, but valued by smaller nonprofits who cared more about results than optics. They were broke, barely scraping by, facing trial dates that loomed like storm clouds on the horizon. They were also happier than either had ever been. Jordan woke one morning to find Natalie already at their second-hand kitchen table. Laptop open, that familiar intensity on her face as she worked through data. "What are you looking at?" he asked, pouring coffee into mismatched mugs. "The Nexitec case." She turned the screen toward him. "The federal investigation. Jordan, they found everything. Every buried report. Every bribed official. Every covered-up disaster. Your board is going down hard. Good. Your testimony is scheduled for next month. Are you ready?" Jordan sat beside her, took her hand. "As ready as I'll ever be. You?" Terrified. Natalie leaned her head on his shoulder. "My lawyer says I'm looking at minimum 2 years. Conspiracy charges. The judge wants to make an example. We'll get through it. Will we?" She looked up at him. 2 years apart. Maybe more. Letters and phone calls and prison visits. That's not what you signed up for. I signed up for you. All of you, including the consequences of your choices. Jordan kissed her hair. "Besides, I'll probably be in the cell next door. Securities fraud. Breach of fiduciary duty. My lawyer says 3 years minimum. So we're both going to prison." "Looks like it." They sat in silence, holding each other, facing the impossible future they'd chosen. "Do you regret it?" Natalie asked quietly. "Taking the hard road? You could have been free." Jordan thought about the immunity deal, the easy path, the life he could have rebuilt on the ashes of lies. Then he looked at Natalie, really looked at her. The scar above her eyebrow, the green eyes that had seen too much and still believed in better. The woman who'd lied to him and loved him and showed him who he could become. "Not for a second," he said. His phone rang. "Unknown number," Jordan answered cautiously. "Mr. Thompson? This is Judge Patricia Morrison. I'm presiding over the Nexitec federal case." Jordan's heart stopped. "Yes, Your Honor. I'm calling to inform you that your testimony, combined with evidence gathered independently, has resulted in a plea agreement with the prosecution. 17 members of your former board have agreed to cooperate fully in exchange for reduced sentences. The case against you specifically has been significantly reduced. Reduced how much? Probation, community service, substantial fines. But no prison time, Mr. Thompson. The prosecutors recognize that you were, in many ways, a victim of a corrupt system. You'll be sentenced next month, but I wanted you to know the outcome in advance." Jordan couldn't breathe. "And Natalie Brooks?" A pause. "Her case is separate. Still pending. I can't discuss it. Your Honor, please. She was trying to expose the truth. She sacrificed everything to protect the environment. Whatever methods she used, her intentions were—" "I know what her intentions were, Mr. Thompson, and I'll take them into consideration when I sentence her." Another pause. "For what it's worth, what you two did, refusing the deals and accepting responsibility, it made an impression. Real accountability is rare in cases like this." The judge hung up. Jordan turned to Natalie, who'd heard everything on speaker. Her face was unreadable. "You're free," she said softly. "No prison. You made it out. We're not done yet. Your case, my case is going to end the way we both know it will." Natalie stood, walked to the window of their tiny apartment. "I broke laws, Jordan. Serious ones. Corporate espionage. Conspiracy. The fact that I was fighting for a good cause doesn't erase that. Then I'll wait for you, however long it takes. You can't put your life on hold for 2 years, maybe more. Watch me." Jordan crossed to her, turned her to face him. "You didn't give up on me when you could have. When it would have saved you. I'm not giving up on you now." Natalie's eyes filled with tears. I don't deserve you. Maybe not. But you're stuck with me anyway. They held each other as San Francisco morning light filled their cramped apartment. As traffic sounds rose from the street below, as the world continued turning despite everything they'd lost. 1 month later, Jordan stood in a courtroom listening to his sentence. Probation. Fines that would take years to pay off. 1,000 hours of community service teaching environmental ethics to business students. He accepted it all without complaint. 2 days after that, Natalie stood in front of the same judge. Jordan sat in the gallery, heart in his throat, as the prosecutor outlined her crimes. The manipulation, the espionage, the conspiracy. Then Natalie spoke. Your Honor, I won't make excuses for what I did. I broke the law. I hurt people. I used relationships as weapons in a war I believed was righteous. She paused. But I've learned something these past 6 months. The ends don't justify the means. Fighting for the right cause the wrong way doesn't make you a hero. It makes you someone who needs to accept responsibility and do better. The judge looked at her for a long moment. Miss Brooks, this court recognizes the complexity of your situation. Your methods were illegal. Your intentions were admirable. The challenge is finding a sentence that serves justice for both. Jordan held his breath. 18 months, federal minimum security facility, followed by 2 years supervised probation and community service, working with environmental organizations under strict oversight. Judge Morrison's voice was firm, but not unkind. You'll have the opportunity to continue fighting for what you believe in, but through legal means, through proper channels. Do you understand? Yes, Your Honor. Natalie's voice was steady. Thank you. In the gallery, Jordan felt something break open in his chest. 18 months. Not forever. Not the end. Just a pause before the next chapter. After the sentencing, they had 1 hour together before Natalie had to report. They spent it in a small courthouse conference room, holding hands across a battered table. 18 months, Natalie said. That's not so long. It's forever, Jordan replied. And it's nothing. Both at once. Will you really wait? Every day. Every hour. He squeezed her hands. I'll write you letters. Visit as often as they allow. Build a life for us to come back to. What kind of life? Jordan smiled, the expression sad and hopeful and real. The kind we should have had from the start. Honest work. Clean conscience. Each other. Sounds perfect. Sounds impossible. We've done impossible before. They kissed one last time as free people. Then the guards came, and Natalie walked away with her head high, and Jordan watched her go, knowing she'd come back changed but not broken. The months that followed were hard. Jordan worked 3 jobs to pay his fines and save for their future. He visited Natalie every week, drove 6 hours each way to sit across a table and hold her hands through plexiglass. They talked about everything and nothing, about the world outside, about the person she was becoming, about the future they'd build when she was free. Jordan started a new company. Not tech, not AI, but environmental consulting, using everything he'd learned to help other corporations avoid the mistakes he'd made. It was slow work, unglamorous. It paid a fraction of what he'd once earned. It mattered. Natalie spent her time inside teaching other inmates about climate change, about environmental justice, about fighting for what mattered through legal means. She wrote articles that Jordan helped publish under pseudonyms. Her voice was still important, even from behind bars. 18 months became 12, became 6, became 1. Then, on a morning in early spring, Jordan stood outside the federal facility watching the doors, waiting, his heart hammering against his ribs. The doors opened. Natalie walked out into sunlight, older somehow, tired but unbroken. Her eyes found his immediately across the parking lot. She smiled, really smiled, and started walking faster. They met in the middle. No words, just arms around each other, holding tight. Both of them shaking with relief and joy and the simple, impossible miracle of being together again. Hi, Natalie said finally, her face pressed against his chest. Hi yourself. Jordan pulled back to look at her. How are you? Free. Scared, happy. She touched his face. You waited. Of course I waited. Did you doubt? Every day. Natalie laughed, the sound bright and clear. But you're here. You're really here. I'm really here. And I'm not going anywhere. They drove back to San Francisco in the same old car Jordan had been keeping running for 18 months. The apartment was still tiny, still cramped, but he'd made it home. Flowers on the table, her favorite books on the shelf, pictures of them from before, from during, from the life they'd survived. That night they stood on their tiny balcony watching the city lights, drinking cheap wine, talking about what came next. "I want to go back to Ocean Guardians," Natalie said. "On my terms this time. No manipulation, no espionage. Just research and advocacy and legal pressure. They'll take you back? I don't know, but I have to try." She looked at him. "What about you? The consulting business?" "Growing slowly. We landed a major contract last month. Silicon Valley startup that actually wants to do things right from the beginning." Jordan pulled her close. "It's not billions. It's not empire building. But it's honest work." "Honest work," Natalie repeated. "I like the sound of that." They were quiet for a while, just existing together, finally able to touch without guards watching, without time limits, without walls between them. "Do you ever think about that weekend?" Natalie asked. "The resort, the booking error, everything that came after, every day. Do you wish it had been different? Wish we'd met some other way?" Jordan considered. "Maybe. But then we wouldn't be who we are now. We wouldn't have fought through what we fought through. We wouldn't know that what we have is strong enough to survive anything." "Even prison? Even prison." Natalie turned in his arms, looked up at him with those green eyes that had haunted him for 2 years. "I love you, Jordan Thompson. I've loved you since the moment you chose principle over profit, since the moment you became someone worth loving. I love you too, Natalie Brooks. I've loved you since the moment you challenged me. Since the moment you showed me I could be better than I was." They kissed as San Francisco glittered below them, as the future stretched out uncertain and bright, as everything they'd lost became everything they'd gained. Neither had money anymore. Neither had power or influence or the lives they'd once known, but they had truth. They had each other. They had the scars of choices made and consequences accepted. They had survived, and somewhere in the distance, the ocean continued its endless rhythm. Waves crashing, tides turning, life persisting despite everything humans did to destroy it. The fight wasn't over. The work wasn't done. But for one night, in a tiny apartment overlooking a city of dreamers and fighters and people trying to be better, 2 scarred souls held each other and chose to believe tomorrow would be worth the sacrifice of today. The end.